Well, that concludes the introductory segment of today's program. We have a 10-minute break. We'll give you a 2-minute warning when we're ready to reconvene. The second segment will involve a question and answer period. Thank you. Segment. We have 5 questions and a 5th question if we have time. This segment will run from approximately noon, approximately 11 o'clock to 11:45. Here's the rules. 2 minutes to answer the questions with a 30-second warning from the back of the room. Anybody can answer any of the questions. Please raise your hand and Pam Ward will pass you the microphone. Here's the first question. As mayor, would you use eminent domain to secure property from landowners for city projects?
It would depend on the project. If we're wanting to build a street and the property owner involved refuses to negotiate in good faith, refuses to try to be reasonable and work something out, yes, I would be in favor of eminent domain. I would not be in favor of exercising eminent domain to take private property to sell or allow a business to come in and take over. But certainly, our state constitution provides for eminent domain. The U.S. Constitution provides for eminent domain. There are times when eminent domain is the only way to go. So yes.
Oh, you want me to respond?
You can't take public or private property and transfer it to a business. I mean, that's against the law. You can take, like Bob said, in certain areas there are things that would cause that to occur. I don't think that anytime you use it to help a individual developer to increase his ability to develop a project, I have a real problem with it in that instance. On a road project, I can see places, just like when we were doing Morgan Street, the widening of it, when we run into problems or people weren't going to let us do it. I mean, what do you do? I don't know how else to approach it on it. But and the opposite is, we're getting ready on that northeast sewer project, and we've had people out there that said, no, we don't want you on the property. Well, we're not going to get on the property. I mean, it's pretty simple. We'll just do it a different way. So there are times you would use it, but it'd be a very limited type of thing that I would approach it in.
And I agree that even though it's legal, it has to be an absolute last resort. You have to preserve private property and the right to that private property. It would have to be for the betterment of the community, and it's the only thing it would have to be the very last resort.
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question to the council candidates. If elected to the city council, would you use eminent domain to secure property from landowners for city projects?
Of course, like commented already, I mean, it depends on the project being done, and if it is truly for the betterment of the city and our residents, then you have to. Again, for business use, private sector, no, but for the betterment of the city and our residents, yes, definitely.
Well, I'm going to be like the other 4 and concur. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
It depends upon the project. People are entitled to their land. If it's for critical infrastructure needs of the city, obviously in a last-ditch effort, yes, we would have to do that and vote as a council to do that. But for any other means, no. People have the right. They've bought that property. They've lived on that property. It may have been handed down to them from their families. They have the right to that property, and only in a very extreme circumstance would I, vote for eminent domain.
I'll just say it would have to be an absolute necessity for the benefit of the entire city. Like Anthony, you grow up on a piece of property, your parents have owned it for years and years and years. It would be very, very difficult, but it is legal, and as long as it's possessed legally by the city, then I would be for it, yes.
Well, this is an interesting question for me because this is what I do every day of my life. And sometimes it's not fun, but I see it as a necessary tool, as a means of progress or to promote progress. Again, the situation would have to be certainly talked about and discussed at length. But yes, I would be for it.
I know there always comes a time when you do have to go a route that you don't really want to go. And the thing is, if you're going to have to go with a project that would cause you to have to subjectively take somebody's property, you better have a darn good reason for it, and you better have a way to give them something that's equal to or better than. You know, there's a lot of times you can look at a project and keep your focus head on, and there's other ways around it, but sometimes you just can't help it. I'd rather try to take the time and work through a project than jump through a project and take something from somebody that not necessarily needs to be taken.
I would be for it, given the right circumstances. For instance, they mentioned people not wanting them on their property to put a lines through. You really need to sit down with those people and let them explain the situation, let them know how much it's going to benefit them and the whole community. But again, there's certain easements. I know several years ago, speaking from the family's perspective, which it seems like I do a lot of that, my family owned over 1,000 acres out in the wildlife refuge. No, they didn't want to sell it, but again, it was a necessity for what they were doing at the time.
No, the answer is yes, and the reason has been eloquently expressed by my predecessors, so I'll leave it at that.
For all the candidates, here's the next question. Where do you think money could be cut from the city budget?
Well, since I got it, I'll start with it. Last year, we cut over $900,000 out of our city budget. With the economic situation that it was, we felt that we needed to cut back ourselves as to impose anything on the residents of Marion. So we did cut $900,000 last year. We're getting ready to do budget this week. Are we going to have to cut any more? I don't know, but obviously it's as fiduciaries of the taxpayers' money. We have to think of those taxpayers first. Some people haven't been as fortunate as me in life to have the job that I have and the retirement that I have. They live month by month on an income, and we have to think of those people. It was kind of funny, and when we got our EPA loan for some of our new water projects, we had to raise capital improvement 15 cents a year for 2 years. Well, guess who caught that 15 cents? No, it wasn't Anthony Riddell that has a $60, $70 a month water bill every month. It was that poor older couple that had the $23.60 minimum bill a month. They caught it because it affected them. And when people are on fixed income, but do we have to restrain ourselves? Yes. Are we restraining ourselves? Yes. And I think that will be a continued means by how we continue to run our city.
Everybody wants to see government operated as economically as possible, but we have to be realistic. Every year, we have 180 city employees who expect a raise. Every year, then, the city council has to come up with some means to meet that request or that demand. And of course, when you get into the salaries, you have the other benefits that go with it, which increase whatever you're doing by about a third. So there are always the expected increase in costs of operation. Now, the city of Marion has the smallest real estate tax, a 37 cents, 100 assessed valuation of any community its size south of Springfield. We fund our police and fire pensions through that 37 cents. The total tax bill for a person living in Marion is about $6.70. So what the city is getting out of the real estate tax is very small. Now, there's been some comment, well, why don't you cut the sales tax? The city operates and lives and dies on the sales tax. That is our principal source of revenue. If we don't have that, if we try to cut back on that, we're going to have no choice but to raise real estate taxes. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how that ought to work. Now, how can you save money in a given year? Well, you can delay some of your capital projects. And of course, we have done this from time to time. So it is not an easy proposition. It is something we on the City Council deal with all the time, and we take our responsibility in that respect very seriously.
Most people don't really understand how the city of Marion functions, and Bob is right. In sales tax, we spend only the money that we gain by what's sold within the corporate limits of Marion. It's probably one of the best systems that I can see in government, because if you don't bring the money in, you don't spend the money on it, and it's based on what people buy. Our tax stream is extremely good, I think, because we also have the TIF revenues that we're working on infrastructure within those TIF areas that just caused a lot of things to happen. So when you take all the tax streams and put them together, we're very fortunate. But these tax streams are not, you have a choice whether to buy your goods or not buy your goods. When you have a tax levy, which the county's tax levy last year was $66 million. When you have a tax levy, that levy goes directly to each property owner. And Bob's right, we were actually able to lower our police and fire commitment this year because we looked and we had revenues available through a grant, and we took that and subtracted that from what we're charging into the levy. And we're probably, Bob, at about 35 cents this year. I mean, I think our top was, what, 38 or 39, so we're very fortunate in where we're at. To control costs in government, it's all through management within, when you have a tax system the way we are. So the better job we do with overtime and controlling the day-to-day function of government, the more money that will be available for the projects that are needed to support our community.
I have 3 areas of interest. One is legal fees. We're spending $1 million in legal fees in the last 10 years. I think we need to regroup and look at our actions that generate that. I also like to look at our insurance plan, our health insurance plan for our employees. If there's a way of brokering and maybe even doing some subcontracting with working local clinics for routine things and only having to insure high risk, that could bring some of the great costs down, not only to the city, but also to the employee. And the last one is we're still spending money on the Sugar Creek project. And where is that going? You know, we've got engineering charges, we've got legal charges. When and what is going to be the fruit of that project? So those are 3 concerns I've had with the budget right there.